Welcome to Testosterothon. 28 movies so manly, none of the actors have ever even heard of kale. The Deadpool is the fifth and final Dirty Harry movie, and after how disappointing Sudden Impact was, I'm glad they made one more to give the series another shot at ending decently. In this one, Callahan is investigating a string of murders related to the Deadpool, a morbid game played by the crew of a horror movie. Liam Neeson is the director of the movie, and he's filming a tie-in music video to go with his movie, with a drugged-out rock star played by a very young Jim Carrey. The rock star mysteriously ODs after being force-fed an extremely powerful synthetic version of heroin. This is strange enough to make it seem like there might have been a murderer, which of course there was. More local celebrities die, and it comes to light that a group of people have put several celebrities that are either very old or they believe are at risk of dying and bet on how many will die from their list within a year. Someone seems to be rigging the Deadpool by murdering all the celebrities on Liam Neeson's character's list, or at least they're trying to set him up. What's different in this film is that Callahan is viewed very differently. In the last 4 films, everyone seemed to really be tired of his shit, and they were constantly reminding him that his methods just aren't used anymore and that he's a dinosaur. It was getting to the point where in the last film, it was getting seriously old. However, in this movie, Callahan had recently put away a major mob boss, which has earned him a lot of respect and made him into a local celebrity. The mob boss, who was in prison, puts a price on Callahan's head, so he's constantly being harangued by hitmen, so he winds up in the Deadpool as well, which is something he's not a fan of. He also starts developing a relationship with a reporter who covered the first death, and at first it seems like she's going to be a thorn in his side, but he warms up to her as time goes on, and she proves she's not the parasite that he initially thought she was. This one is a lot different. It has a very 80s feel to it, unlike Sudden Impact, which despite coming out in 1983, seemed to try to keep the 70s feel of the first 3 films. It just failed miserably. Due to this, it's still very violent, but in a different sort of way. It's not as gritty, but it's very stylized, which is a breath of fresh air after 4 films with similar tones. Another thing I like was the great car chase, which seems to be a homage to Bullet. Only this involves 2 cars and a remote-controlled toy car, if you can believe it. I know, it sounds silly, but the villain uses remote-control cars as bombs, and when Callahan spots it, he tries to get away, with the RC car chasing his, and the murderer not far behind trying to stay in range to control the car. It's really tense for a scene that involves a toy. That brings me to another point. Callahan has always had a lot of wisecracks, but nothing that was laugh-out-loud funny. But this movie actually manages to balance good laughs with good action and tension, which is something that you don't see too often. The Deadpool is a hell of a lot better than Sudden Impact, and I would say slightly better than The Enforcer, though not by much. On the machismo meter, I'm going to give it a 6. It's definitely above the median for manliness, only, Clint Eastwood has visibly aged, but he still manages to kick ass. But he has seemingly softened slightly over the years. For reference, compare the romantic interest in Magnum Force, where his neighbor Sonny basically just introduces herself and then asks to sleep with him. That's some powerful machismo he gives off. He actually has to put work into getting the girl in this one. Well, for the actual score, I've enjoyed this one quite a lot more than I thought I would. A lot of people like to say that the Deadpool is the worst movie in the franchise, but no. That dishonor definitely belongs to Sudden Impact. The Deadpool isn't bad, it's just different, and that ain't a bad thing. I'm going to give it an 8. A slightly stronger 8 than I gave The Enforcer. I don't do fractions, but I'll do orders of magnitude.